What kind of courage does it take to venture into an unreached land, a place where tribal wars rage, superstition grips every heart, and the cries of abandoned twin babies echo in the night? What drives a young woman from the industrial slums of Scotland to confront the darkest practices of a new world, offering not judgment, but the transformational power of a love she believed divine? This is the extraordinary true story of Mary Slessor, the red-haired Scot whose unwavering faith and fierce compassion turned her into a legend known as the Queen of Calabar. She walked where no European dared, defied ancient customs, and planted seeds of hope that continue to bloom today. Prepare to be inspired by a pioneer who gave her life for the forgotten, teaching us that true impact is born in the crucible of radical surrender and relentless love. If Mary Slessor's tale moves your spirit, please like this video, subscribe for more captivating stories of faith, and share it with someone who needs a reminder of courage in the face of impossible odds. Your support helps us tell these crucial, inspiring stories. The year was 1848, and in the bustling, grimy city of Aberdeen, Scotland, a child named Mary Slessor entered a world far removed from the sun-drenched forests of Africa. Her early years, however, quickly spiraled into the harsh realities of Victorian industrial life. Her father, Robert Slessor, a shoemaker, battled a crippling addiction to alcohol, leaving his family often destitute. In search of work, the family moved to Dundee, a city infamous for its jute mills, where the air hung thick with dust and the incessant clatter of machinery provided the soundtrack to most lives. By the tender age of 11, Mary, like many children of her time, was forced into the mills. 12-hour days, 6 days a week, a monotonous cycle of endless labor that stole childhood and dreams. Yet, even amidst the din and the despair, a quiet fire flickered within her. Her mother, a devout and resilient woman, instilled in Mary a deep love for God and a foundational understanding of the Scriptures. Every evening, after the long, grueling shifts, Mary would sit by the flickering light, poring over the Bible and the pages of Missionary Record, the publication of the United Presbyterian Church. These stories of intrepid missionaries venturing into distant, dark lands captivated her young imagination. David Livingstone's tales of Africa, in particular, ignited a spark, a nascent sense of calling that began to whisper through the clamor of the factory. She felt a profound empathy for the people described in those pages, not just a distant pity, but a visceral connection that transcended geography and culture. "I must go," she determined, her small, weary hands still stained with jute dust. "I must go to where there is sin and darkness, and bring them Christ." This was not a fleeting childish fantasy, but a conviction that deepened with each passing year. She devoured every book she could find on Africa, prayed fervently, and began to prepare herself, unknowingly, for a destiny that would defy all expectations. Her body might have been confined to the mill, but her spirit soared across oceans, already imagining the faces of those she would one day serve. By 1875, at the age of 27, Mary's long-held dream began to materialize. The United Presbyterian Church accepted her as a missionary, a rare and groundbreaking opportunity for a woman of her background. Leaving behind the familiar, though often painful, landscapes of Scotland, she embarked on a perilous sea voyage to Calabar, a region in what is now southeastern Nigeria. The journey itself was an odyssey, a tangible severing of ties with her past. As the ship sailed further south, the familiar gray skies of Europe gave way to the vibrant, humid expanse of the tropics. When her ship finally docked in Creektown, Calabar, the contrast with Dundee was stark. The air was thick with the scent of unfamiliar spices. The sounds of tropical birdsong mingled with the chatter of the Efik language, and the vibrant colors of the landscape pulsated with life. But beneath the exotic beauty lay a reality that would test her faith and challenge her preconceptions at every turn. Calabar at that time was a land of complex spiritual beliefs, powerful tribal systems, and deeply entrenched customs that often horrified European sensibilities. The most notorious among these was the practice of twin infanticide. Twins were considered an abomination, believed to be a curse, a sign of evil spirits, and were often abandoned in the bush to die. Poison trials were common, used to determine guilt or innocence in disputes, often with fatal outcomes. Slavery was still prevalent, and the fear of witchcraft permeated every aspect of daily life. Mary's initial assignment was at the established mission in Creektown. Here, she began the arduous task of learning the Efik language, a tonal language that required immense patience and a keen ear. She immersed herself in the local culture, observing, listening, and striving to understand the world through the eyes of the Efik people. Unlike many of her European counterparts, who maintained a degree of distance and lived in relative comfort within the mission compounds, Mary possessed an innate hunger to live among the people, to truly share their lives. She found the structured, often rigid approach of the established mission unsatisfying. She saw the limitations of preaching from a pulpit to a handful of converts when millions remained untouched, bound by fear and ancient traditions. Her independent spirit, often perceived as stubbornness by others, propelled her beyond the mission walls. Mary Slessor was a woman of paradoxes, small in stature but possessing immense will. Quiet in demeanor yet fearless in confrontation, profoundly spiritual yet fiercely practical. She understood that to truly reach the people, she had to become one of them, to bridge the vast cultural chasm with empathy and respect. Her heart ached for the abandoned twins, for the women who faced the shame of their birth, and for the communities torn apart by fear. She knew her true work lay not in the relative safety of Creektown, but deeper, further inland, where the gospel had yet to penetrate. It was a call to the wild, to the unknown, where the very forces she sought to conquer held undisputed sway. Her resolve, born in the jute mills of Dundee, now hardened by the realities of Calabar, cemented her path toward the heart of darkness. The conventional wisdom of the time dictated caution. European missionaries were advised to stay near the coast, within the relative safety of established mission stations. But Mary Slessor was not one for conventional wisdom. Her spirit yearned for the unreached, for the untamed territories where the grip of fear and superstition was strongest. Overhearing tales of the Okoyong tribe, a fierce and isolated people known for their suspicion of outsiders, their practice of human sacrifice, and their continued adherence to twin infanticide, Mary felt an undeniable pull. Despite warnings from her colleagues and the inherent dangers, she made the audacious decision to venture into their territory in 1888. This move marked a pivotal turning point in her ministry. She packed her meager belongings, which included a few books, some basic medical supplies, and an unwavering faith, and journeyed up the Calabar River, deeper and deeper into the dense rainforest. Her arrival in the Okoyong territory was met with wary curiosity. She chose not to build a grand mission house, but a simple mud hut, indistinguishable from those of the villagers. This act of humility, of living as one of them, began to break down generations of suspicion. She ate their food, learned their dialects, sat with them around their fires, and listened to their stories. Her red hair and blue eyes were a constant source of fascination, but her genuine compassion and fearless spirit slowly won their trust. The practice of twin infanticide was a deeply ingrained custom, rooted in the belief that one of the twins was the offspring of an evil spirit, and therefore both had to be cast out to prevent bad luck from befalling the village. Mary Slessor couldn't stand idly by. She began rescuing every abandoned twin she found, bringing them into her hut, nursing them back to health, and raising them as her own. These children, often frail, starved, and terrified, became her family. Her small home became a refuge, a symbol of defiance against an ancient, cruel tradition. This audacious act put her at direct odds with the village elders, the witch doctors, and the deeply held beliefs of the community. Yet, her courage was infectious. She would walk into tribal skirmishes armed only with her Bible and her resolve, placing herself between warring factions to mediate peace. She fearlessly confronted witch doctors, debunking their claims and offering practical solutions for illnesses and misfortunes. Her medical knowledge, though rudimentary, often proved more effective than their traditional remedies, further solidifying her influence. She became a doctor, a judge, a teacher, a mediator, often all simultaneously. Her days were a whirlwind of activity, from dispensing medicine to negotiating peace treaties, from teaching children to read to comforting the sick and dying. She was known to carry a bottle of quinine for malaria, a small tin of biscuits for hungry children, and a boundless reserve of patience and prayer. Her unique ability to immerse herself in the culture, to understand the intricacies of tribal politics, and to speak their language with fluency, allowed her to navigate this dangerous landscape with remarkable success. She wasn't just preaching, she was living the gospel, embodying love and justice in a way that people could understand. She often quipped, "I am in a hurry, but God is not. He will accomplish his purpose in his own time." This blend of urgency and patient endurance defined her years in Okoyong, transforming a hostile territory into an expanding field of ministry. By the turn of the 20th century, Mary Slessor's reputation had spread far beyond the confines of Okoyong. Her unconventional direct approach to mission work was yielding remarkable results. She had not only rescued countless twin babies, but had also raised several of them as her own, demonstrating a profound personal commitment to challenging the most deeply ingrained cultural practices. Her small mud hut was never empty, serving as a schoolroom, a clinic, a court, and a spiritual sanctuary. She taught children to read and write, using the Efik language she had mastered, and introduced basic hygiene practices that dramatically improved health outcomes. She believed that spiritual transformation went hand in hand with practical upliftment. She encouraged the development of local leadership, empowering trusted converts to share the gospel and lead worship services. Her influence grew to such an extent that the British colonial administration, impressed by her ability to maintain peace and order in otherwise volatile regions, appointed her as a vice-consul in 1905. This unprecedented appointment for a woman, and a missionary at that, gave her legal authority to preside over native courts, settle disputes, and administer justice. She used this role not for power, but for protection, ensuring fairer trials and working to abolish cruel practices like the poison ordeal. Her court was often held under a tree, with Mary, sometimes ill with fever, dispensing justice with an unwavering sense of fairness and an intimate understanding of local customs. She mediated tribal wars, prevented cattle rustling, and settled land disputes, often traveling by canoe or on foot through dense jungle, enduring malaria and dysentery, which became constant companions. Her adopted children, now older, assisted her in various ways, running messages, caring for younger children, and acting as interpreters. They were a testament to her vision, thriving in a world that had once condemned them to death. Mary, despite her growing fame, remained humble and entirely focused on her mission. She eschewed comforts, preferring to live simply, always prioritizing the needs of the people over her own. She was a tireless advocate for women's rights and education, believing strongly in the potential of African women to lead and transform their communities. She established more outstations, pushing the boundaries of missionary endeavor further into the interior, training local evangelists to carry the message of Christ to their own people. She often wrote back to Scotland with incredible stories of transformation, of witch doctors abandoning their practices, of communities embracing Christian values, and of peace replacing warfare. Her letters, often written by the dim light of a kerosene lamp, conveyed both the immense joy of seeing lives changed and the profound weariness of constant struggle. The physical toll of decades in the tropics, battling disease and the relentless demands of her ministry, began to weigh heavily on her. Her health, never robust, deteriorated significantly. Yet, her spirit remained indomitable. Even as her body weakened in the early 1910s, Mary Slessor's will to serve never faltered. She had spent over 3 decades in Calabar, pouring her life into the people, and she intended to breathe her last among them. Her trusted adopted children, now young adults, became her indispensable caretakers, tending to her needs, preparing her food, and assisting her with her work. She often conducted her daily duties from a hammock, dictating letters, offering counsel, and praying for the sick who still flocked to her humble dwelling. Despite her physical frailty, her mind remained sharp, her spiritual discernment keen. She continued to be a beacon of light, a source of wisdom, and a fierce advocate for justice. In 1913, in recognition of her extraordinary service and profound impact in bringing peace and development to the region, King George V awarded her the Order of St. John. It was a rare honor for a woman and a missionary, symbolizing the far-reaching influence of her remarkable life. Though she accepted the honor, it mattered little to her. Her reward, she believed, was in the transformed lives she witnessed daily. Her final years were characterized by a quiet endurance, her faith burning brighter with each passing trial. She often spoke of her longing to be with Christ, yet her commitment to her adopted homeland remained paramount. She loved the African people deeply, understanding their complexities, respecting their traditions, even as she challenged what she saw as destructive practices. Her personal life, marked by the loss of her own siblings and the immense solitude of her mission, had found its true family among the Ifik. On January 13, 1915, at the age of 66, Mary Slessor passed away peacefully in her mud hut in Uz-Ikat Oku, surrounded by her beloved adopted children and the people she had served so faithfully. The news of her death spread like wildfire through the Calabar region, plunging communities into mourning. Chiefs, villagers, missionaries, and British officials alike gathered to pay their respects. Her funeral was a testament to the profound impact she had made, a blending of European solemnity and African lamentation. She was buried in Duketown, Calabar, alongside other missionaries, but her grave became a pilgrimage site for generations of Africans and missionaries alike. Mary Slessor left no grand institutions named after her, no vast theological treatises. Her legacy was etched not in stone, but in the hearts of the people she served. She abolished the barbarism of twin infanticide in the Okoyong territory, a feat that seemed impossible before her arrival. She introduced education, health, and a more equitable system of justice, transforming societies by embodying the love of Christ. Her life demonstrated that a single, determined individual, armed with faith and compassion, can dismantle ancient evils and bring about profound social change. She blurred the lines between missionary and community leader, proving that true evangelism often means living out the gospel in tangible, sacrificial ways. Her story continues to inspire countless individuals to this day, particularly women in ministry, reminding us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it, and that a life wholly surrendered to God can achieve the extraordinary. Her life stands as a testament to the power of one person to make an eternal difference, proving that the greatest victories are often won not with force, but with love, empathy, and unwavering faith. Her spirit, the Queen of Calabar, still whispers through the rich forests of Nigeria, a reminder that light can indeed overcome darkness. Lessons from the life of Mary Slessor. 1. Courage in the face of cultural darkness. Mary Slessor willingly ventured into dangerous, unreached territories and directly confronted deeply ingrained, horrific cultural practices like twin infanticide and poison trials. Her life teaches us the imperative of standing for justice and truth, even when it means challenging established norms and risking personal safety. 2. The power of cultural immersion. Unlike many missionaries of her time, Mary chose to live among the people, adopting their customs, learning their languages, and eating their food. This deep immersion fostered trust and allowed her to understand the root causes of their practices, enabling her to offer solutions that were culturally relevant and impactful. 3. Radical compassion and sacrifice. Her decision to adopt numerous abandoned twin babies, offering them not just shelter but genuine maternal love, was a profound act of compassion. She lived a life of extreme self-sacrifice, foregoing comfort, personal safety, and even her own health for the sake of the people she served. 4. Empowering local leadership. Mary didn't aim to create a dependency on herself or European missionaries. Instead, she invested heavily in training and empowering local leaders and evangelists, ensuring the longevity and indigenous growth of the Christian faith in Calabar. 5. Practical Christianity and holistic ministry. Slessor understood that spiritual transformation often required addressing physical and social needs. She wasn't just a preacher, she was a nurse, a teacher, a judge, and a community developer. Her ministry was holistic, touching every aspect of life. 6. Unwavering faith and perseverance. Despite constant illness, loneliness, and the immense challenges of her environment, Mary Slessor's faith never wavered. Her life is a testament to the power of perseverance, reminding us that God uses ordinary people to accomplish extraordinary things through persistent prayer and unshakable trust. 7. Challenging gender norms. In an era when women's roles were largely confined, Mary Slessor broke barriers. Her appointment as a vice consul and her independent-minded approach to mission work demonstrated that leadership and impactful ministry are not limited by gender, but by calling and character.